It's a great day to be alive. It's Tuesday, the 15th day in the month of October 2019. Welcome to the program Women Voices for Peace right here on WFM 91.7. My name is Uludolapo Adewale and I'll be your anchor today on the program. Today we're looking at something very, very interesting and of course something that concerns you and I as a woman. We're looking at the topic empowering women to end poverty in Nigeria. That's what we're looking at today on the program, empowering women to end poverty in Nigeria. And of course, this program is brought to you by Women Voices for Peace in partnership with NORAD and of course Women in Peace Building Network, WIPNET, supported by the Norwegian Agency for Development Cooperation, NORAD. Living in poverty is generally defined as making less than $1.25 per day. And this, when it converted to Nigerian naira, you know how meager that is. And that prevents millions of people from reaching their full potential. Now, poverty is about more than having a low income. It's also about the lack of choice and lack of power. Unequal power relations are imposed in both rich and poor countries on basis of gender, age, class, ethnicity, and even disability. And discrimination on the basis of gender, it cuts across all the forms of discrimination, creating double oppression for many already poor women and girls. As a result, they often end up as the poorest of the poor, if there is anything like that. So poverty, we see that poverty is looking like it's more prevalent among women. Today we'll be looking at why is that so? Why is poverty prevalent among women? And we'll be looking at how to chart courses to empower women to end poverty in Nigeria. Today you can reach me on 07000 917 917 090 256 You can also send a text message to my WhatsApp line 0703 1756 537. And we're very social. You can go to our social media handles, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook at WFM 917. The phone lines are open and I want you to call me if you're a woman and you can suggest ways to end poverty in Nigeria, ways in which you think women can be empowered to end poverty in Nigeria. Today I will not be doing the talking alone. I've got a guest on the phone. Today we have the Executive Director, Community Partners for Development. I'm talking about Inse Udo. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
All right. Today we'll be talking about empowering women to end poverty in Nigeria. In my introduction, I said something about the statistics tilting towards women having been more poverty inclined than the men counterpart. Why is it so? Why is it that poverty is seen mostly in women and young children? Why is that so?
It's because of the inequality that have existed over the years, and the fact that most of the jobs the women do are not recognized, and there's a place at the back of the burner. Nobody recognizes the work we do. And you notice in Nigeria, most of these women going to agriculture and buying and selling things, all those kinds of work are not recognized. They are not unionized. So they just pass as if it's not being done. But actually they contribute a great deal to the GDP of the economy.
Now, we know that women living in poverty, they are more vulnerable to slavery, to violence and discrimination. How do you think this effect will rub off on the women in Nigeria? For instance, we know that women have been displaced in IDP camps. They've been subject to slavery, all sorts of things. How does it rub off on the women?
It rubs off to a greater percentage because unless we take them out of the condition they are now, there can't be any visible improvement. For instance, those women you are talking about have no bargaining power. So they're just there and they remain there. But if we empower them in a way that they could handle their situations, then they'll move from one space to the other. For instance, if I want to say there are about 6 or thereabout things that need to be done to move them out of that place, so that we can now tackle them empower them in such a way that they can eventually end the poverty or the situation they are in. And it will include things like breaking the gender norms, which is all through there. We have some religious and traditional things that hinder them. And we also have to encourage employers to hire inclusively. What I mean there is that they should not look at the certificate, because we still have a lot of our women not educated, but rather they should consider some competencies which they have.
Okay.
And also see how we can, advocate to ensure that they pass the gender equality law everywhere, every state, so that it can take the effect we want. And then look at the issue of access to capital. Women need to have access to capital, because if they do not have this access to capital, nothing works out for them. The kind of products and services that are available to them make it almost impossible for them to get anywhere, because they don't have those lands and other things they need as collateral to move further in their various businesses.
All right. Now, I would like you to state one after the other the empowerment strategies you think women can adopt to eradicate poverty or to reduce poverty.
In terms of what we do as NGOs, as an NGO based here in this country, the strategies we've worked on include things like skill training with take-off packages. Training that is to identify the skills that they are suited for, not just to open up and say, go for skill training. And at the end of the day, we'll give them a take-off package so that we know for this number of women they are established. We also try to move the women groups from the present type of farming they used to do to mechanized type of farming, so that they don't put in too much energy and they don't spend years upon years to try to make the products come to the market. Like for instance, in cassava, we bring them the 6 to 8 months cassava stock so that they can have it out. In 2 years, they have 2 planting seasons. In a year, they have 2 planting seasons, and so on. Then we also do provide informal education where needed, because some of them, among other things, their barrier is education. They cannot go further, and so they need this training to help them understand how they would go further, coupled with the fact that right now everything is technologically inclined. Look at what is happening with in terms of the money market they are doing. All of them, they are using ICT. If you cannot operate a phone, you cannot be part of that system. And so we also try to form women into viable cooperatives and SMEs, because till now, most of our banks, commercial banks and microfinance houses, they're more comfortable dealing with groups than individuals.
Exactly.
So when they form them into viable cooperatives in their fields of endeavor, they can easily attract funding.
Okay.
And the SMEs too can have specialized trainings for them.
That's interesting. Those are good empowerment strategies. Now, in what way do you think all these laudable empowerment strategies, in what way do you think they can help to reduce poverty?
It will definitely help to reduce poverty, because that woman that could hardly make it will be able to put food on her table for the family. She will be able to move from those basic third-hand selling to going out to the market to be the one bringing the products into the community that she is dealing with. For instance, in those that are specializing in oil palm processing, before now, like the ones we are working with, they used to, in a week, were able to bring out only 2 kegs of palm oil. That's like 20 liters of palm oil times 2 in a week.
Okay. With
the empowerment we gave them, the training and the use of new machinery, most of them, as we speak, are able to bring 10 to 15, 20 liters of oil on the market days. And the convenience they are having is because the number of kegs have increased. The merchants come to them, to the mills, to pick the oil. Before now, they'll take that one gallon, cake, 20 liters to the market because it's only one. But right now, they come to them and pick those 15. It changes their lifestyle completely.
Okay.
It makes life easier for them, and they also help their families to grow.
Exactly, and we know that women are better managers of money, and they'll be able to at least, distribute the wealth to their family members. Now, I want us to look at women in the urban and women in the rural areas. Now we're looking at the poverty index of the women in the rural and women in the urban area. Will you say the women in the urban areas are also faced with poverty challenges?
Of course, they are facing the demands even in the urban areas are more than that of the expectation of the woman in the urban areas are more than that of the one in the rural area. And one thing I would also like to bring to your notice is that, the government has also assisted in bringing so many programs for the very poor, in quotes, and with due respect to them. For instance, that woman that 10 to 20,000 can make a difference for will not be found. Most of them are found in the villages. But in the urban areas, because of the demand and the conditions of living, they need more money to set up a business. And then maybe they are looking at 500,000. And then the other higher levels. Most of the time, the government projects look at only the grassroots women. They forget these middle class group, which are found in the
urban areas.
Yes, in the urban areas. And that number is increasing by the day because of the rural-urban drift.
Yes.
It's like, you belong to a class when you say, oh, I live in so town. Like you have achieved something. Whether you are eating there or not, whether you can afford anything or not, but you are in the town. So there's still an influx of women moving from the rural to the urban area. So I think we should look more to addressing those ones also.
All right, so the urban area women should not be left out of this particular talk about ending poverty. All right, talking about urban area women, we actually went to the streets to figure out we actually sampled the opinions of women in the urban areas to get how much they spend per day on transportation and feeding. We found out that transportation and feeding kind of tops what a woman spends much on a daily basis. So we found out what they had to say about this. Let's take a listen to their opinion.
On the average, I spend about 500 naira on feeding in a day, and for transportation, I spend like between 200 and 300 naira every day on transportation.
Okay, as a woman, how much do you usually spend in a day for feeding and transportation? So I'll say roughly 1.5. I drive, so I spend an average of 1,000 a day for fuel, and for feeding I don't eat that much, so 500 is okay for me. So that's 1.5.
In this Lagos, just flying Lekki to VI on a daily basis and feeding. If I'm not splurging, that's like 1,000 naira or 1,005. But if I'm splurging, I can spend as much as 2.5 or more, depending on my appetite for the day and the traffic for the day.
Okay, I can't really put an amount to that because at the end of each month, as a salary earner, at the end of each month, I buy food stuff in the house, and I try to cut my cost by cooking from the house and taking it to the office. On a good day, I think I spend an average of like 500 to 600. I try to not exceed the 600 limit. But in case I have to buy food outside, and maybe I have to use the local booker, then that is like 1,000 naira thereabout. And because I stay a bit close to, I stay at Yanowuru, I work on the highland, so my transport fare is a bit, it's reduced.
All right, for me as a woman, I spend 1,000 naira on fuel, and that's for transportation around in a day, and another 1,000 naira for food every day. So I spend an average of 2,000 for both transportation and feeding every day. Thank you.
If I go from VI to Lekki and back every day, I spend nothing less than 1,000 naira, 1.5.
I spend because I cook my own food, so I eat 2 major meals in a day. That food, if I'm to buy it outside, will possibly cost me maybe 400 naira a plate. Yeah, so that's like 800 naira. But let me cost it at 600 naira. That's my food every day. If I'm to add some fruit, another 200. So let's say 800 naira. And then transportation, fuel in my car is like 1,000 naira, thereabouts.
Transport fare 1 to feeding 700. Thank you.
Per day, roughly between 5,000, 6,000. It oscillates between that per day, and then it also depends. Sometimes the family it's a full house. Sometimes it's not a full house. If it's a full house, everyone back from school and all, then it goes sometimes per day for us. It's as high as almost 8,000 naira if you want to calculate it with fueling and everything, especially for the fuel for the house and fuel for the car. So let's give it 8,000. I spent like 8,000 naira in a day.
On a normal day, I can say I spend 500 naira for feeding, though we have a subsidized meal at work. But if I want to go out, I can't do more than 500. I'm sorry. Except I want to spoil myself, then I can do 1,000. I'm sorry. I'm very prudent in spending. But transportation, which I know I don't have power over transportation, because of Lagos transport system. It's so expensive. So I can't say I can do a particular amount for transportation, because it depends on where I'm going to and all that. But if I'm taking Uber, anytime it gets to like 2,000 naira, I feel like I've spent a lot of money, man. So that's what I can say.
If we're talking about mainland, like coming from Yanokwaja or Egboda down to the island, I spend, give or take, nothing less than 3,000 naira on a daily basis. So, Lagos, so.
Alright, you hear the voices of different women on how much they spend on feeding and transportation, and that kind of gives an idea of how well or how not too well a woman is doing. If the chunk of earnings goes into feeding and transportation, then you wonder how much is being saved at the end of the day, and that really relates to how much a woman is able to move out of the poverty line. Now back to you, my guest, Nse Udo. I hope you heard all the reactions of the women in that vox pop. I would like you to give an assessment of what you heard in the vox pop.
Well, I heard in all that, I think it's only one person that maybe you group in a different category that said she could spend 8,000 a day.
Mm-hmm.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, the rest were averaging the 1,500 to 1,500. That is because most of those ones you spoke to, I think they must be having some form of employment or the other. But surprising, you spoke to almost 10 people and then only one stood out. That shows the level that the women are, how very well placed we are. That only one could afford that amount, meaning that the rest are, in the lower cadre. Like you rightly said, that cannot be found even in the rural areas. Of course not. There's no woman that will say she spent 1,580. Where in the rural areas, they still have, one market day in a week. So for any average woman, those women in the village, it's 1,000 they take to the market. And our market is supposed to cover the week.
No, we're talking about a day. We're talking about spending on a daily basis.
They don't have that kind of spending a day in the village. It's not there. That's what I'm telling you. What is they buy in the market for that week, sustain them for the whole week.
Yes. So if we have to break it down in so-called 7 days of the week, we will break it down in tiny bits. All right. So back to the discussion real quick. Now we're looking at gender equality. There's been campaign for gender equality in Nigeria over the years. I want to see how gender equality can help reduce poverty. Is it possible if we empower more women to speak up to break the culture of silence? Is it possible that gender equality can help reduce poverty in our land?
Of course it could. Because when those laws are passed they are in place, it will address the issues of inheritance rights and property, land ownership. Because that's like a major hindrance to women. If you do not have, you cannot use what you don't have to get what you need. Because going to access funds for your business as a woman, when the collateral is needed, and it's those property you would use, and most of us women we don't have because of the cultural side of it that it makes us not to get inheritance from our parents for those who have. So if there are laws that say whether you are a girl child or a boy child, you are entitled to those properties are split, then we can boldly go to a bank and apply for funding for our businesses. And in a way, it will help to reduce that poverty rate that we have among our women.
All right, exactly. If you're just joining us, this is Women Voices for Peace, and of course, my name is Oludola Kwadewale. I haven't had to do this on my own. I've got Inse Udo, the Executive Director, Community Partners for Development, on the phone. If you want to be part of this conversation, call me on 07000 917 917. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, Mr. how are you?
I'm doing great. What's your name?
Mr. Darlington.
All right, Mr. Darlington, glad to have you on the program. Please go ahead.
Good. Dolapo, in this country, we had a Margaret Ekpo and the Aba Women Riot. You saw what they did and brought about change. You know of Amina Mohammed. You know of Fumilayo Ransom Kuti. For God's sake, these women of modern days, instead of talking and talking, why can't they emulate these other women and what they did? In America, Rosa Parks ended the black only, the white only. She was sitting down and the white man came and said she should stand up. She refused. And that started the revolution. The examples are there. Our own Nigerian women, what are they doing instead of talking? Sarah Jibril wanted to be president. No single woman in Nigeria voted for her.
No single woman? No, that's not entirely true.
She was the one that voted for herself now when they went for
the primaries. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Is that not true?
No, generally, when you said no in Nigeria, that's too general.
It is from the primaries that you now contest. So if your fellow women did not approve of you at the primaries, how are you going to contest?
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Darlington wants some more women to speak up, like the women of Old there. All right, back to the discussion real quick. In case you still want to be part of the conversation, feel free to call me on 07000 917 917. You can send your text messages to 0703 1756 537. And of course, the conversation is on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Use the hashtag Women Voices for Peace. You can go to Twitter and drop your comment on the thread that is going on at the moment. All right, back to you, Inse Udo. Now, how can we empower women the right way so as to eradicate poverty? You've mentioned some empowerment strategies in times past. Now, how can we bring all this together to ensure that poverty is eradicated in a society?
When you say, how can we empower them in the right way? I think the basic thing we should do is to make the women understand the issues of women. I'm surprised to hear Darlington make those kind of comments. Women talk. Rosa Parks talked. She spoke. Margaret Ekpo, the About Women Riot. People spoke about it. And a lot of us are speaking today. But you see, the few women we have, with due respect to them in the decision-making positions, do not understand the issues of women. You are being a woman doesn't mean you understand the issues of women. You won't know what we mean by gender issues. Or rather, you might not even understand why we need to include women in the Traditional Rulers Council. So many things are at stake because we have them some round pegs in square pegs.
Do you still think it's more of cultural beliefs that is like giving a shield to the woman right now?
Yeah, part of it, because all the stereotypes that have existed over the years. Those traditional beliefs, the rules that are traditional for women, makes it impossible for women to aspire to go further, and they are content with where they have found themselves.
Now, Nse, as someone who is at the forefront of speaking up for women and all that, do you believe that it's possible to eradicate poverty entirely?
I believe it's possible, but it will take a gradual process. It's not something that we can wake up and have it tomorrow.
Step by step.
Yes.
Okay, in case you just joined us, the program is Women Voices for Peace, and of course we've been talking to Nse Udoh. She's been giving us insight on how to empower women to end poverty. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What's your name?
Yeah, I've been following your program and I just want to contribute.
Thank you. Can I know your name, sir?
My name is Joshua.
Joshua, all right. Joshua, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. I quite agree with some of the points your guest is raising. But you see, the major thing that a girl needs, or probably the women need, is education. And what I mean by education, not formal education.
Okay.
Education transcends just going to a classroom. It has to do with the understanding that, look, if you can think it in yourself, then find a will to provide the energy to do it. I have a very wonderful and understanding wife, and I have 2 boys and 1 girl. And my attention always is on the girl child to ensure that she excels, because she says she wants to be a medical doctor, for instance. Now, I try as much as possible to talk to her more than the boys, because I know that medicine requires a lot of the part of anybody. It doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman. So that's what I mean by education. Today she's privileged to be in school because we're able to afford for her. But you know, when you begin to talk about education, look at it beyond the classroom. Look at it in a way and manner that you empower the minds of the woman to believe in themselves. When they believe in themselves and they're able to provide the energy, I am telling you, faith and God has it that somebody somewhere will believe in that and will provide the needed assistance.
Thank you very much for your comments, Joshua. And Joshua said that what the girl child needs is education. And he said education transcends more than the classroom. And he says he has vowed to give his girl child more education, even seriously taking it more than ever before. All right, in case you just joined us, the program is Women Voices for Peace, and today we're looking at something very critical to the women folk, and that's poverty. We're looking at how to empower women to end poverty in Nigeria. And of course, Nse Udoh has been doing justice to the topic, telling us 1 or 2 things that we need to know about ending poverty in Nigeria. And she said it's a gradual process. We can't eradicate it totally, but it's a gradual process. All right, back to you, Nse. I want us to look at our society and our institution as it is right now in Nigeria. What institutional or societal changes can we make to ensure that women are well empowered to eradicate poverty in the country? What are the things we need to tweak? What are the things we need to change?
The institutional barriers that women have, apart from that of the kind of available should I say packages for women, is that you might say yes, there's provision for this and that for the women, but how do they access it? Accessibility most of the time is not there for women. The access. Let me go back to the funding part of it. You say there are loans in the bank, several trillions or millions for women. How many women can actually get that loan? You don't make it possible. There's no soft landing for those women. In schools, you have them being when you write out the curriculum. Women's curriculum also should favor women for who they are, the kind of skills that are available for teaching in school. Right now, there are nothing to do like employability skills, knowing that we already have a disadvantaged position. the employability skills that should be introduced to schools should favor the female gender, also to make them grow out of it and be empowered to face the place of work after school. Policies are not, even if they are there, policies, laws, or bills, or whatever you call them, at the end of the day, most of them are not localized. They are just written there. Maybe they pass it at the national, but they are not localized. And so nothing really happens. There is nothing to protect that girl. There is really nothing. You go back to what we have in the issues of crisis, when we talk about the crisis, at the end of the day, is the women and girls that face the brunt. If you look at what the UN Security Council Resolution 1325 says, yes, women are not prepared to face what happens at the end of the day, because when their husbands are taken away, the sons are taken away, they become automatically the heads of the family. But look at government now. When they go to distribute for the maybe disadvantaged people, IDPs or refugees or even flood victims, natural disasters, they use the male-headed household. Things like that don't favor the women. So a lot of things are maybe in place, but not in place. I don't know how to put it to you. They need to be, women need to be given a soft landing in all those areas. So if we want to empower women to assist in the development of Nigeria.
True. All right. In a trip across Southwest and in some states of Nigeria, you'll see that there are indeed some poverty alleviation or poverty eradication schemes that are specifically targeted for women. But you find out that sometimes when an administration goes and comes and another one comes in, there's like no continuum, and government is supposed to be a continuum process. What will be your word to government to actually continue all those laudable programs that you've done for women, so that those places will not just be a shadow of the past? You find out that some places they're just abandoned after the administration goes. What should be your word to the government listening right now?
My word to the government is that they should create a data bank so that the people know what is going on. Everybody is doing the same thing, and repeatedly they do the same thing. Like you rightly say, when this government goes, the other one comes and does the same thing, because there's no data bank. Nobody knows. There's no documentation of what was done before. Even if you want to go and ask how many people benefited from this agric loan, you will not find it. And so the same person can come again to apply for it. The same government, another government will come to do the same project. They should document it. They should put a supervisory body that keeps documents on what each government do, so that they do not continue duplicating issues, because that's what is happening. And each person that comes starts his own afresh instead of continuing where the other one stopped. They know government should be continuous, but I don't know why it's happening that way. And I think the major problem is that there's no documentation. We just keep doing and commissioning and launching women programs, but nothing is effect. And secondly, some of the projects that are done, they train them and leave them high and dry. You cannot train somebody and you don't give a starter pack. Somebody has to have something to start with. Or when you finish training and leave the person, he goes back to where he was, because he has nothing to...
No motivation and no encouragement.
Nothing. No encouragement.
All right, it's still Women Voices for Peace, and we're looking at ways to empower women to end poverty in Nigeria. The Executive Director, Community Partners for Development in Seudo, has been giving us insight into that. Christopher Hitchens once stated, and I quote, "Women are the first generation of people who do really know what the cure for poverty is. It's eluded people for a long, long time. The cure for poverty has a name. In fact, it's called the empowerment of women," and that's what we're talking about on the program today. Causes of poverty can actually differ from country to country, but empowering women and girls, just like Nseudo said, it transcends borders. It impacts all nations, in rich and poor countries alike, urban and rural areas alike. A key to poverty alleviation is convincing people that they will benefit from empowering women. Now, on the program this afternoon, we found that men have called us on the program. I want to ask you, how can men be involved in this particular empowerment for women? How can they also show support to this cause?
We really need to partner with them, because without the partnership, it will not work. Women don't live in isolation; they live in the same communities with these men. And over the years, the stereotypes have been there. The culture in some areas favor them. So to partner with them will help, the support we need, because they need to support these women to go further and do what needs to be done. But if we are not fighting them, we don't say they should push them out of the line completely, but they should be part of this process, because a greater percentage of them are in the decision-making position. Even in the rural areas, they are there in the traditional rulers' council. We are not there. Very few communities have maybe one female, and then look at political parties. They are all men. Then they will have a woman leader. So it's a man's world. Let them come and think, partner with us, so that we can grow, empower us in such a way that we become supporters of the community, become supporters of development. We don't want to be receiving this stipend, sitting at the bottom to bring tokens to us. We need to partner. When we don't partner, we are not going to succeed. We need that partnership.
All right, partnership is key. So men, if you're listening, partnership is key. Men should be involved in this cause of empowering women to end poverty. Also, talking about that, we found out that some men, even though they are not capable of, feeding the family 24/7, they still find out that they still tell their women not to work. And we know that in Nigeria, a whole lot of women, African women in particular, they contribute more to food production than men on the farms. What would be your word to such men in this category who believe that the woman should just stay at home and not work?
For those kind of men, they need a lot of awareness creation and sensitization, because maybe at the back of their mind, they don't have trust for their women to leave their homes, because of all the stories that go on in the air and the problems from the social media. They need to be aware. They need to understand that these women are out there so that they can come to help them, help the family. And so, you see, the women, they sacrifice a lot. They come out to work and then send their children and then send their brothers to school to better of themselves, even better than herself, person doing the work. But without awareness, the man, if it's a jealous kind, or insecurity can come in, and he thinks, going to job, some other person will see her, or this and that, and so on. But with when awareness is created, when we speak to them and they see the purpose, and then we give, like the other man cited some frontline women. If we cite women who have made it in our times, they will understand, and they see what they have contributed to their family, contributed to Nigeria as a whole. See them in the UN. Women are going places. So if we encourage them by speaking to them, advocating for these issues, they will accept. They will do something.
All right, in case you just joined us, this is Women Voices for Peace. You've missed a lot, but you can still contribute on the program by calling 07000 917 917 090 256 25455. We're looking at empowering women to end poverty in Nigeria. If you have ways to think that more women can be brought to the front burner and actually empower them to eradicate poverty in Nigeria, we know that the population of women is on the ascendancy in Nigeria, and women contribute a whole lot to the gross domestic product of Nigeria. But how can we look for ways to make sure that this particular set of people who are very important in our society, how can we look for ways to ensure that they are above the poverty line in Nigeria, and of course people who are saddled with the responsibility of managing the home affairs and all that? So you can call us to suggest ways in which you think women can be empowered to end poverty in Nigeria. You can also send a text message to 0706 0703 1756 537. 0703 1756 537. You can also go to our Twitter, Instagram and Facebook at WFM917. Remember to use the hashtag Women Voices for Peace, and of course drop your comment on the particular thread that is going on at the moment. Okay, back to the conversation right now. I want to talk about poverty, slavery, and exploitation. We know that a whole lot of women and young girls are into forced labor, forced marriage, and forced sexual exploitation. The list goes on and on. What's the correlation between all these forms of modern day slavery and poverty line in Nigeria?
Well, the poor person really doesn't have a voice. She's just like a voiceless person and cannot make decisions on her own. And whatever comes, I think most of the time they take it. And earlier on, I mentioned the issue of bargaining power. If you have bargaining power, you can negotiate sex. Sex is not something that what they do now is give it to me so that I can give you this food or I give you this money. Even at the home where they are married, the same thing happens because they dare not say I'm not. They do that to bring income to the family to feed them. That exploitation comes in like when they say, bring your girl, let me go and train her. Actually, they're not going to train her. They're taking that girl for prostitution.
That's sad.
To trade one thing or the other. But you see, that's why you see year in, year out, these women, they still live in poverty when we know that they are the ones that do the real job, but they are in the informal economy, and nothing they do is seen. They are not visible enough. Their earnings are low, and the cost and risk are high because they are just there. It's not a nice type of job that you say there's a future.
Okay.
So it's easy for me to drive to the village and say, give me your children, let me take them to Lagos, let me take them to Abuja to better their life. And when you see that you take 500 naira to the weekly market, and I promise you from now on you'll be taking like 150 or so, because I'll be sending the money directly to you. Most of them will say, move and join. Let's change our style, change our life. And that's how it starts. And it becomes something else when they are unfortunate. It drifts into sexual exploitation, pornography, anything they will use those girls for. And it continues like that. But with awareness creation, with the campaigns that we do in the community, people are beginning to ask questions. They're taking my child to where? Who are you? Let me know you. Or let's go to where you say you claim you come from. Because most of them are sex people when they come. And so with that, it can reduce a bit. But it's just, like I said, they are going to be a real gradual process because you have lived with it for longer than you can even imagine.
All right. Another thing that comes to the fore is about negotiation of income or pay package for the women. Sometimes some women have come out to say, both nationally and internationally, that they are not being paid as commensurate with their male counterparts, even though they have the same qualifications and all that. What would you say to employers or to people who are saddled with the responsibility of doing pay packages and all that about marginalizing women when it comes to pay?
I will really frown at that because everybody should be given an equal playing ground. So whatever you do, you get paid for it, not because I'm a female, the other one is male. If you are employed, all employment have their specific amount for payments. So it should be negotiated according to male, female. I guess maybe those ones is like private companies, because in civil service that does not exist at all. It doesn't exist. You have what you get paid for the qualification you came in, not because of your gender. So, but for the people outside the companies, that's why they are asking most of them to draw out their employee schedule. You have a right to ask. And we, the employee, we don't have the culture of reading. So when you get employment, and even when they give you that package, you don't read it. Because if it's not there, you can prosecute them. You should know what you are, signing in for. And then if that discrimination is written in black and white, then don't go in there. But if it's not written and you go in there and it happens, then you can call for help.
Exactly. All right, Imse Udo, your final words on the topic today, empowering women to end poverty in Nigeria. What are your final thoughts on that topic? Let's put it all in a summary right now.
my take now is that we are going to make it someday, somehow, but we shouldn't give up. Let's not say we are talking too much or not talking too much. Let's keep going. We are going to move from one place to the other. Let's approach our lawmakers, the decision makers in the country, to look again on what is happening. So all these beautiful laws, the bills, the acts, etc., that are available, which would have protected us, they are not protecting us in any way because most of them are not localized. It just starts and ends somewhere, maybe in Abuja, House of Assembly or House of Representatives. Let's ensure that whatever is passed for Nigeria is localized in all the different states. Let's pressurize our state governments to do it. Most of these things we are talking about now, if you trace, you see something is backing it up somewhere that would have made us go with our shoulders high. But our local, different states are not localizing it, and it stays like that. I'm hopeful that women have gone this far, and we're going to go further again, talking to our own sisters to make sure that we sit together, have one voice to say out what we need, and also partner with the males, because with partnership we can succeed faster and easier.
All right, thank you very much. With partnership, we can succeed faster and easier. I got that one from my guest, the Executive Director, Community Partners for Development, Nse Udoh. Thank you very much for speaking with us on the program today.
Thank you very much, too.
Thank you, and do have a great afternoon. Women Voices for Peace holds every Tuesday on Women Radio, WFM 91.7.
WFM 91.7.